Wherever the red dot goes, ya bang. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Directed by Tom McLaughlin and starring Thom Matthews, Jennifer Cook, and C.J. Graham as Jason Voorhees, the horror icon. And what I feel is the most entertaining entry in the franchise. And, whereas I felt Part 2 was the scariest and the best entry in the franchise overall. It's thrilling. I feel that Friday the 13th Part 6 is the most fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a lot of self-referential humor. It's more of a satire, a parody, if you will, of the slasher genre. And Friday the 13th franchise in general. But it never forgets at the same time to be a horror movie. Just like the Scream franchise, I would say. I might even say Wes Craven might owe a little something to the makers of Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And there's even one scene where you see the cemetery graveskeeper look directly in the camera and say, "Some folks got a strange idea of entertainment." So it's like, wink, wink. So we meet up with Tommy Jarvis, who was from the Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, and Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. So we continue his legacy in this film. And this time around, he's played by Thom Matthews, and he's very good at it. And so Tom Jarvis goes to the cemetery with his buddy, who happens to be played by the dude from Welcome Back, Kotter. How'd they find that guy? And they come up with the absolutely brilliant, the genius idea of digging up Jason's grave. Just so they can make sure he's dead, I guess. So Tommy Jarvis rips this metal rod out from the fence, and he plunges it deep into the heart of Jason Voorhees' body. And as fate would have it, we get a lightning storm, so the lightning strikes down upon the metal rod and goes through Jason's body and electrocutes him and bzzz through his whole body, and bam, Jason's back. Jason lives. So Tommy Jarvis unwittingly wakes up Jason Voorhees from the dead, and now he's a zombie, so he's even more dangerous, even more powerful, even more unstoppable. And he kills Tommy Jarvis' buddy. He goes, bam, plunges his arm right through his body and grabs his heart. It's pretty nasty effects. Some great makeup effects in this movie, especially when you see Jason before he puts the mask on. His face is filled with maggots, and it's really decrepit and nasty. It's pretty cool. And then, of course, you see him put his trademark hockey mask back on. The iconic hockey mask, and then Jason is back. And he's ready to wreak more havoc on Camp Crystal Lake. Only this time, Camp Crystal Lake is changed to the name Forest Glen. Because the town wants to erase the memory of Jason Voorhees once and for all. Nobody wants to stir up that crap. They want to just forget the whole thing ever happened. They want to move on and live normal, quiet lives, but all that's about to change, thanks to Tommy Jarvis. So we see Jason return to Camp Crystal Lake and pray to knock off some more counselors, including some jabronis that are playing paintball in the forest. You see him jump down from the tree, and there's like 3 of them in a row, and he takes the machete, all 3 of them. It's pretty nasty. And you see one jackass try and shoot him with the paintball gun. It's just like... it's hilarious. A lot of funny stuff in this movie. Some way over the top deaths, like one of the guys you see, he breaks into an RV, and he takes this girl by the head and smashes her through the wall, and you see her face indent going right through the wall. It's like pretty cool. It's funny. I just gotta say something about Jason in this film, C.J. Graham. I think he's the best representation of Jason in the franchise, period. And it only took him one movie to do it. He just nails the character. He's not like big hulking brute like Kane Hodder, breathing heavy, walking real slow. This Jason is like fucking sprinting right at your ass. You better fucking run. He's a lot scary and a lot more deadly, I would say, in this film. And he just has the perfect look. You know, Jason is like the perfect look of Jason, in my opinion. There are a lot of some really good jump scares in this movie too, and there's also a really creepy scene where you see Jason break into the one of the cabins at the camp, and where all the children are sleeping, and you see him strolling through the cabin, and while the kids are sleeping, and one of the little girls wakes up, and you see him like creep close to her. You see him with the hockey mask right in her face, and it's pretty creepy. Like, wow, you've never seen Jason put kids in danger, but this was like, wow. It could have got real ugly, but luckily he gets distracted and sees one of the other counselors. Um, so, like I said, so what happens in the film is Tommy is determined to take Jason down once for all. So he goes back into town, and he decides to talk to the local police there. And so he's begging the sheriff to help him. He's telling him all about, you know, Jason's back. He's going to kill everybody in town. And of course, they think he's insane and crazy. And the sheriff ends up chasing Tommy all over town. But once they catch him, the sheriff decides to take him to the end of town and tell him, don't ever come back here again. We don't want to hear about this Jason crap. We want to get rid of that whole legacy of Jason. We don't want to be reminded of it. So the sheriff's nice enough to have his truck waiting for him. Like, after chasing this guy all around town, he's nice enough to make sure he's got his truck and everything before he leaves town. It gives him a chance to leave town without arresting him. But of course, Tommy is not going to leave town. He has to get back there and has to make sure Jason is taken down for good. So he enlists the help of the sheriff's daughter, who of course is hot, and but she makes a really good final girl in this movie, I think, because she's not the typical, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode type. You know, she's not quite the girl next door. She's a bit of a wild child, and she's not very mature. She's kind of goofy. You see her do the balancing act on the chair. It's kind of a funny scene. She's definitely a little goofy. But they definitely have a romantic relationship building there. But Megan definitely helps him out. And at the detest of her father, of course. But eventually the sheriff does come around. And he works with Tommy and Megan to try and take down the monster Jason Voorhees, who's killing everybody left and right. But they do track Jason down, and they take him to Camp Crystal Lake, the actual Crystal Lake, actually. And Tommy's plan is to bury Jason at the bottom of the lake. He gets this big, huge boulder and goes out on his canoe, and wants to strap the chain around Jason and drop him at the bottom of the lake to sit there and drown forever. And that's pretty much what happens. But as we know, we know how these things turn out in the Friday 13th franchise by now. Because there's going to be part 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and the reboot and Jason vs. Freddy. So we pretty much know how this is going to turn out. That's all I'm going to say. But please run and buy Friday 13th Part Jason Lives. Friday 13th Part 6 Jason Lives. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.